Hi everyone, my name is Suse Wilcox and I'm a Michigan author. I'm sitting outside at one of my favorite reading spots, and I hope you have a favorite reading spot too. You can see I'm near a beautiful forest. I've got a small painting of the mountains in Alaska. My trip to Alaska was the inspiration for my latest book, The Secrets of Chillcut Trail. Chillcut Trail is a historic hiking trail in Alaska. It was used by the Tlingit Indians for trade and later used by gold seekers during the Klondike Gold Rush in 1898. My story is about a sister and brother who hiked the Chillcut Trail with a foster child named CJ. The friends become lost and encounter caretakers of the forest called Grugels. Together, they learn facts about the forest, they help the Grugels escape, and they learn the importance of family and friendship. If you like the Magic Treehouse series of books, you'll love The Secrets of Chillcut Trail. It's similar in that there's a heavy dose of adventure along with education, but it is for older students in grades 4 through 8. The book includes a list of questions that can be used by educators and parents relating to science, social studies, and reading comprehension. For this book and my other middle grade books, which include Rubik's, Bullies Coasters, Hermits and Heroes, and My Journey to Crazyland, you can visit my website at www.susewilcox.com. Happy reading, everyone.
Welcome back to the 2020 Author Fair. This is our second annual, hosted by the Rochester Hills Public Library and Rochester Writers. And for Rochester Writers, my name is Michael Dwyer. Joining us for this author segment is Suse Wilcox. Hi, Suse. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Now, we just saw you do a little reading and talking about your books, and I love the fact that you did it outdoors and sitting on a big rock, and you were talking about finding a favorite reading spot. And that's one of your favorite reading spots. Do you have others?
Sure. I have them indoors as well, comfy chair, and by a fireplace. Lots of places to enjoy books.
I can picture you in a big chair by the fireplace with slippers on and maybe a dog or a cat laying on the floor, and you smoking a cigar. I don't know.
I haven't tried the cigar, but yeah.
How important do you think it is for readers to have reading spots?
I just think that finding a location where you feel comfortable, and in fact, even in one of my latest story, the character has a favorite reading spot out on a porch. It's a place that you go to sink into your thoughts and maybe gain new information through books.
Well, absolutely. And I think that it's as a reader, you like to get into that mindset. You like to be able to be transformed
Right.
to the place that you're reading about and lose yourself in the novel. And I think comfort and a familiar spot does help that. Now, you read from which book was it? Remind me.
It was The Secrets of Chillcut Trail. That's my latest book.
And is that a real place?
Chillcut Trail is a real place. It's a hiking trail in Alaska, and it was originally used by the Tlingit Indians and then later used during the Klondike Gold Rush. So it is a real place, and I visited there. I actually hiked the trail, and it was the inspiration for this particular book.
So I'm looking over at the word Chillcut. Chillcut. I'm imagining that is a Native American Indian term.
Yes.
And do you know what it means?
I do not know what it means. No, I haven't looked that up.
Okay. And I know that there's a lot of Native American Indian trails throughout all of the Americas, and many of them are roads and pathways and things that we use today that we don't really necessarily relate to that time period, but they were always used as pathways.
Sure, even in Michigan, there's trails and with Indian names that tie back to that time.
So is it an important feature of your writing style to include a bit of history?
Not necessarily. It's more about the adventure and a learning experience. In this particular book, uh, they the reader would learn quite a bit about science related to the forest, also about some social studies related to the Tlingit Indians. And this is the first of a series of books that are sort of like the older version for the Magic Treehouse series books. A lot of us enjoyed those for the younger ages. And this takes it to the next level for more of the middle grade students in that there's adventure, but also learning. And so for my next book, I'm planning on the location would be Austria, and there would be a different type of learning experience there.
So the locations serve as really just a backdrop to the stories. And what I like is that you also include or is available for teachers and parents some study guides and some learning materials.
Yes, right, for this particular book. In some of my other books, I don't include that, but in this book and the books forthcoming in this series, those will be included.
And is it your hopes that teachers use them in the classroom for reading materials as well as learning?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful.
And with the, and with a lot of students doing homeschooling or being at home, it provides a bonus to parents or homeschool parents that they can use to help educate their children.
Well, yeah, that's something that we're getting quite used to as we're doing right now is communicating and learning and having events via a virtual realm. So what a nice thing that you have continued as you've started to help students and parents alike with the learning process. You mentioned that your books are middle grade. We don't hear that term too often. I mean, you and I do in the industry, but for parents and readers that are tuning in, could you kind of fine tune what is middle grade?
Generally, grades 5 through 8 would be
So really the
appropriate.
middle grades.
Right, yes. And it depends on the reading level of the child, obviously. Some fifth graders would do fine with this book. And, some might not. It depends on their level of reading.
Do you find that's an important age group to have good reading material for?
Absolutely. To expand their vocabulary, to challenge them with reading and understanding and comprehension. And that helps them in the older grades, obviously.
Now you have teaching experience. You're an educator. You probably understand the minds of children at that age group better than your average person. Certainly better than me, since I don't even have children. But I would imagine that it's a bit of a challenge to craft the language just so that it's comprehensible to that age group, as well as you suggested, introducing some terms and language to them.
Absolutely. In fact, one lady wrote me and said that she reads books before she allows her daughter to read them. And she appreciated the fact that she enjoyed the book, but that her daughter could easily follow it. So I look for that type of feedback, and that's what I'm, gearing my books towards, so that the child can follow in sequence, learn, and that it engages them as well.
Well, I'm continuously surprised by young people, and the pre-adult, the middle grade that you write for, as well as young adults, is that they are far wiser and tuned in than I might imagine. They surprise me continuously.
Yeah, I would agree with that entirely.
So it's a challenge to, I would imagine, to do the writing that you do, but you probably find that it comes easily to you. Uh, is there any other challenges for that age group that you've come across while writing so many novels?
Challenges in terms of what? Getting them to read, or?
Just trying to put yourself in the mindset of that age group and finding something that they find interesting, educational, as well as something they can relate to.
Um, yeah, I mean, that's obviously something that's in the back of my mind always. I have children myself, and in viewing them, their friends, and also in being at the school, you kind of get a sense for what kids like, um, and what might attract their interests.
And as a teacher and as an educator, I imagine that you've seen the libraries and the books that are available to students, and you can see which ones they pick up more often than others, and that might give you an idea of the trends or the type of reading materials that they want.
Sure, there's, certain books become popular, and sometimes that is, um, because the educators, find a book and then and start to utilize it. Um, but it doesn't help to also put out some new ideas as well, or types of
Now,
reading as well.
middle grade is your primary genre, but you have explored young adult as well.
Right.
You have a
What?
couple titles in the young adult realm.
Sure, I have a book that's considered young adult. It's called My Journey to Crazy Land, and it's considered young adult because it covers some topics that maybe the younger students wouldn't grasp as easily. Um, all my books have messages of perseverance or overcoming obstacles, or dealing with their understanding of society. Um, but obviously, an older age group is more interested in more adult topics.
Okay. Okay. And that makes sense. Um, how important, I imagine it's very important to have that element of that you just described, that the learning, the obstacle, the overcoming, the perseverance, that entwined into the story. Um, is it something that is obvious to the reader, or is it so woven in that at the end of the story they've now learned that? Am I being clear in my question?
Yeah, I think you're asking whether or not it's kind of in your face, and I would say it's subtle. In some instances, I would say it's a little bit more um, forthcoming, but my stories, I guess, are considered, they teach kindness and compassion. There's a moral element to them, but it's not, but you're learning it in the essence of the story itself. So,
Right. I think that that type of woven in, um, the morals that are woven into the story and the backdrop of the story. It could be fiction or adventure or even set in a different world than our own. But some of those universal truths and positive messages can be shared uh, as reinforcement to the reader in their own
Right.
lives.
Right. And in fact, I got a message, and this is what inspired me to keep writing early on. One of the later ladies that wrote one of my books, she said that it's nice to have middle grade books that focus on storytelling, but also address crucial issues that kids face every day, and that impact them to become their best selves.
That's an important message, and that is such a vulnerable age. And I'm glad that you're writing books with those messages, and that you're uh, writing for that age group where they can read them. Do you want to tell everybody where they can go to maybe find out more about you and your books, and maybe a place to buy them?
Sure. All of my books can be found on Amazon under the name Suse Wilcox, Suse Wilcox, Wilcox. I have a website, www.susewilcox.com, and you can find my books there. I have primarily books for middle grade. I do have one adult book, fiction, and yeah, I would love to hear feedback from anybody that takes a look at it.
Great. How would you like to leave it with everyone listening today about you as the author in your books?
Um, I, I think that I've been happy to hear some of the reviews of my books. The main thing is that they teach life lessons, and that both the adults and the kids seem to enjoy them. So they are, they have good morals, they're clean books. So if you're interested in that kind of writing, please visit my website and take a look at my books.
Good advice. And I liked what you had to say about the one parent who said she always reads the book before she lets her child read the book. And I think that's good advice for all parents out there. Suse Wilcox, thank you so much for joining us for the 2020 Author Fair, the second annual, hosted by Rochester Hills Public Library. We'll have more coming up in just a moment.
Thank you so much.